I'm Gabby and I'm here with Ruby, and today we're talking about different virtues, kindness, and patience, and how they're crucial and important to leading a good and virtuous life.
Okay, so the book On Reading Well, the virtue kindness, this is the definition. The definition is to possess the virtue of kindness is to be in the habit of treating all people as if they were family. And it brings like a sense of self confidence and great optimism. It's the foundation for life that is fulfilling and rich.
And then my virtue is patience, and On Reading Well goes into talking about how the essence of patience is the willingness to endure suffering, and patience is a virtue only if the cause for which that person suffers is good.
Okay, so on page 207, it's a quote from the kindness chapter. It says, "We want to be with the kind even if we don't want to be the kind." And so I kind of was like thinking about that quote because it's pretty powerful. And I think if I asked 100 high schoolers what makes them happy, a majority of them would say friends. I feel like everyone wants and desires people to like them. I know personally that like one negative comment can change my whole day. So the quote, like, we want to be with the kind, even if we don't want to be the kind, I feel like we desire people to be nice to us. We desire people to, like, have, like, strong emotions towards us, even if not necessarily we're nice back to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like that's like a really important point, and kind of like going into that about like patience too. Like on page 203 of On Reading Well, it says that patience is one of the places where faith, hope, and love meet, and I feel like that can also be so true about like kindness. Is like the more kindness that you share with other people, the more patience you have. Like those are the people that you want to be around. Like those are the people that you're attracted to. And it also says that like the ability to wait for something without getting angry or upset is like such a crucial point to having patience be a virtue and to be able to live it out in your life. And I feel like that's so important, especially when you're trying to be kind to other people.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like, patience is, like, a key aspect of kindness because, like, patient people are such good listeners. And I feel like you know they care about you when someone's, like, patient with you and taking the time to, like, really understand you. And there was another quote. Um, It talked about on 216, kindness is a way of knowing people beyond our understanding of them. So I feel like without patience, it's hard to understand people. And I really like that quote because I feel like when you're kind to someone, like you have a new, like found respect for them and you can just like understand maybe their point of view, where they're coming from, because it's like a connection now you both have. Like you both have something similar. Like,
Going off of that, I love that quote, the fact that kindness is the way of knowing people beyond our understanding, because it really just speaks to our society today and our culture, because with so many mental health problems that everybody is having and the way that we see like certain things impact our brain, like social media and other people's opinions, how people speak to us, and just like our view on the world, it's such an important thing to be able to like accept someone into how you think and how you view things to make other people like feel understood, like make people feel accepted in their not even just mental health problems, but in their everyday lives.
I agree. I kind of went into the mental health, like suicide part of the chapter because I'm like pretty passionate about it. And I kind of went into I looked at an article talking about mental health and that we all long for a sense of belonging. And about 42% of high school students reported being sad and hopeless, saying they feel no one cares about them. And then, so I was just thinking about that, and it's like crazy that a real reason why people don't feel cared about is because of bullying and people just being like overall negative towards them. And like all these things stem from a lack of kindness we have for people because we are so like unwilling to show people we care about them. So that's why I feel like suicide is so prevalent in the world. Like people don't even want to live anymore because they really don't feel like there's any hope. And it's just so sad. Um, and it's actually scientifically proven that kindness like um, boosts dopamine levels. It's like a root of people's happiness and joy. So that's why I was for this virtue. This is why I picked it because I feel like pursuing any other virtue without kindness is like almost impossible because you need a sense of happiness and joy to like want to pursue other virtues in your life and want to be like working for yourself.
Yeah, I kind of went into the mental health side of that too. Going into patients, there was an article about a brain implant study that explains the neuroscience of patients.
Okay.
And it explained how the release of serotonin can have a positive impact and influence parts of the brain to promote patient behavior. And so the study went on, to conduct it. It explains that kind of your brain works in a loop in a sense. Like serotonin promotes patience and past experiences, like demonstrating patience in your life, like where you had patience, leads to rewards, and that helps make us more patient in a sense. Like that constant reward, that cycle, and being able to have patience is such like an important factor, especially going into kindness too. And on page 200 of On Reading Well, it said a persuadable temper might sometimes be much in favor of happiness as a very resolute one. And I feel like that's such an important thing, because sometimes we feel like we need to be patient for the wrong reasons, and we need to do that to make other people happy, to produce their happiness, not necessarily ourselves, or to have kindness towards other people. We need to change who we are and how we view things. And so our patience isn't coming from the right place, and we need to really understand, in order to have patience as a virtue, where our patience is coming from and what our motivation for that is. Because if it's not in the right place, that serotonin isn't produced in our brain, and it doesn't lead us into kindness, it doesn't lead us into happiness.
Yeah, I feel like patience is so misunderstood. Like, when I was reading the chapter, I was like, wow, there's so many, connections it has to other virtues. Even kindness, it's a huge part of kindness. Like, without patience, I feel like kindness has such, a distorted view. And I feel like people just don't know the true meanings of patience, because it is kind of hard to understand. Like, you just think of patience, I'm going to be patient with doing my homework. I'm going to be patient when my dad tells me to do something and I don't want to listen to him anymore. But, it's so much deeper. It, benefits you, too. Being patient just, opens your eyes to, a new, sense of, it's kind of like growth and maturity. Once you can finally just be able to, I feel like just sit with your own thoughts, sit with what, other people are saying about you, and just, be kind of I like the quote where it's be where your feet are. And I feel like without patience, it's almost impossible to just be in the moment and be in the present. And I know I struggle with that a lot, is being in the present and not looking to the future. And so I feel like patience is just so crucial for an open mindset.
Yeah, I felt like that's so important too, because before reading the chapter on patience and On Reading Well, I feel like I definitely misunderstood it. The way I viewed patience, I only saw it when I was waiting for something I didn't want.
Yeah, a negative way.
Yeah. It wasn't a good, I'm being patient in this, or I'm having patience in that, in a positive manner. I'm enduring my suffering. That's having good patience. I saw it as I don't want to do this right now, but I know it's better in the long run, or my mom told me to, or something that you have to do, it's a requirement, it's a burden. And I feel like patience should never really be a burden. And I thought that was interesting, that in On Reading Well on page 192, it said that patience is a passion for a person, you suffer on behalf of that love. No matter what your passion is, having patience in something is enduring the suffering for something you love. And I thought it was cool that it referred to patience in medical care too, because when I think of the virtue of patience, I don't think a patient, someone that's sick in the hospital, but it bringing back the fact that the root word of having patience can also be a patient, someone that is suffering and someone that needs medical care.
I know, I thought that was such a cool connection. I've never thought about it that way. I thought that was really cool. I also liked one of the quotes from 217. It's one page over from 216. It was, kindness makes us vulnerable and opens us up to the world of other people that we both long and dread for. So I feel like that kind of connects to what you were just saying, with patience. I feel like kindness, it just makes us want to know people, and you need patience for that too, because getting to know someone is so difficult. It takes so much patience, because you hear them talk about themselves. You hear them, talk about things you're not interested in. And it's just, to really know someone is, to go into it with, an open heart, a kind heart, a heart that's, willing to receive. And I feel like it's obviously way more open with Christ in our lives. But, patience also, I feel like, is such an attached part of that. Being able to, dread and long for, an understanding of people is like something I feel like we have to like create as a habit, because like I feel like us as people, we always want to do things fast. Like we don't want to take the time to get to know people. We want to like send a text and hopefully they respond and hopefully we can like hang out and never really know them. But like I think that's why kindness is so important, is because it like gets us to understand who people are in like a deeper sense that creates like a long meaningful relationship that like is beneficial for both sides.
Yeah, I feel like kindness is like, it's so important in that aspect, that like being able to be kind when someone's sharing something that might be vulnerable for them.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's also why patience is so important, like in that, and why kindness and patience work so well, because going back to like the suffering part of patience, and like how you can see being patient as like someone in the hospital, someone that's sick, someone that like needs help or is an ailment. Like when you're sick and you need help and you're asking someone for that, you're suffering, like you're very vulnerable. And I feel like it's so hard for people to be vulnerable in our world today, and in order to get to know someone, you have to be vulnerable with them. And that's kind of where the kindness like also helps come into play when you're getting to know someone, because if someone's being vulnerable to you, like you're scared that you're gonna get hurt. Like we don't want to be vulnerable, and we don't want to know people to that extent because we don't want to get hurt by them. It's a lack of trust and a lack of almost honesty with ourselves in that sense. And I feel like that's why being able to get to know someone through kindness and having patience with the process is such an important thing in like our world today.
I feel like we're just so afraid of getting judged, and like I know in like hardness discussions and other discussions, like it's kind of scary like talking, like especially it depends on the class, like not really Mr. Montez's class, but like Mr. Gibson's class, I feel so scared like just saying anything, because I like don't want to say anything wrong. Like I know it's kind of like political, and it's like I feel like a lot of that stems from like we're like kind of afraid that people won't like be kind to us. I feel like not even like really kind, but just like I'm just like, at least for me personally, it's like sometimes hard to be vulnerable because we don't know what people are going to say. We don't know if people are going to talk about us. So I feel like that all like roots from like a kind of like judgment being like a very like familiar thing in our lives. And I don't know if it was like, if this is more of a new thing with social media, but it's like judgment is so real. It's like, it's almost like nothing else matters when you feel judged and you feel like people don't respect you. And like they have like kind of like no sense of like kindness for other people. It's kind of like self-absorbed. They're kind of about themselves. I feel like a lot of the root of our problems in school and in like friends is just because like we feel so judged and not accepted and not cared for. And I feel like that's a huge problem that kindness can fix.
Yeah, I feel like we all like kind of, you touched on social media a little bit, and I feel like that's such an important topic.
Yeah.
Even going back to like mental health and stuff, because we all want to be validated and we all want to like feel accepted. Like no one wants to be left out or like judged, like you were talking about. And I feel like that's such a hard thing in social media today too, because you look at like people's posts, like people post for validation, or for followers, or for everything else, and then
it's like how many likes did I get, or comments,
yeah.
And if some people turn the comments off and they didn't get enough comments. It's like, it's crazy. It's so toxic.
Yeah.
Like people posting and like, you know, they're looking, like you see them at lunch, like looking at all their like feed, like hopefully they liked it. It's like, oh, it's such a toxic world we live in.
Well,
it's so sad.
Everyone like complains about it too, because you can post something and I know, like, I do that, not with social media, but, like, in every aspect. Like, someone could say 100 nice things, but the one mean comment is the thing that sticks, you know? And I feel like with social media, it's so difficult because so many people are so willing to tear other people down or to judge others.
But they'll never say it to your face.
Exactly, because they're hiding behind a screen.
Yes. It's like, I dare you. Like, the people who are, like, bullying kids online. It's like, are you kidding me? That is, like, horrible. Like, try to ever say that to someone's face. They will never. They'll never say that. And it's just so sad. Like, and that's why I feel like patience and kindness are so tied together. And I kind of wanted to go into, like pursuing other virtues. Like, I feel like without, like, the root of, like, happiness and kindness and patience, like, because happiness and kindness and patience, I feel like they're all kind of tied together, and love as well. It's like, how are we going to pursue, like, other virtues like temperance, humility, chastity? I feel like those are such, like a past view. Like, we have to, like, work on ourselves and our own image, and I feel like that's where, like, kindness patience and happiness. Like, we want to work on our own image before we work on things that are like, kind of far removed, like not as much in touch with our lives. Because I feel like I didn't even know what those words meant. And so, like, I don't know if I was pursuing them. I'm not sure. But I don't know if you had, like, any opinion on that.
I feel like I agree. Like, we need, like, a strong foundation.
Yeah.
To be able to move forward and learn about other virtues and to live. Like, the Bible touched on living a virtuous Christian life. And how most of the virtues are so tied back to Christ and tied back to the Bible and how we view and how we see others, and it kind of goes back to how people say, like, treat other people how you want to be treated, but treat people how Christ treated others.
Yeah.
Because, like, he set such a good example for it, and I feel like it honestly, like, it's so basic, but being able to treat other people with kindness, being able to treat other people with patience, like, we feel like everyone should be able to do that, everyone should have that skill and should know that, but it's such, like, a far and in between thing.
Yeah.
Like, now.
It's so hard to, like, pursue, I feel like, because I'm not sure where in the kindness chapter, but it kind of talked about, I don't know if you remember, like, how it's, like, it's so hard for us to pursue. And I kind of like that quote where it was, like, it's so hard for us to pursue, like, we want it, but, like, a lot of us don't know how to pursue it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of us are just, like, not taught to be kind anymore. It's, like, especially in, like, sports and school and, like, anything that's, like, kind of, like, selfish. Like, we're taught to just, like, kind of, like, wash out what everyone else says and just think about ourselves. I know for sure, like, in school, it's, like, kind of a competition. Yeah. Like, oh, I'm not going to help that person because I want the better grade, or kind of like that, especially if you get into, like, higher AP classes or whatever. So I feel like that was a good point you made.
Yeah. And I feel like that's so important, too, that you touched on, like, it's so hard to pursue that as a virtue, because in patience, too, in the chapter, it says, like, the nature of the world is fallen.
Yeah.
And, like, we need to be created anew. And I feel like that's such a big part of being able to live a virtuous life also. Like, no matter, like, what virtue is, we need to accept the fact that our world, like, has sin in it, and it has hate, and it has all these things, and we need to make a conscious effort. Like, we can't just go around and be fake nice to people or put a smile on our face, because, like, we need to genuinely try to pursue the virtues and other people's lives, because we all want, like, like you said earlier, like, we all want kindness, we all want people to be kind to us, and we cherish that, but we may not always be kind to other people. And I feel like going back to how our virtues are such a foundation, at the end on page 203 on the patience chapter, it says, okay, in your patience you shall possess your soul. Therefore patience is the greatest of the virtues. In her patience she possesses her soul. And I just thought that was very powerful, because it's like, you don't truly know yourself until you're able to have patience, until you're able to have kindness. Like, you need to also be able to be kind to yourself. Yeah. Like, not just others, but being able to be kind to yourself and accept that if you have mental health problems, like, you have mental health problems, you need to understand that, but you need to be kind to yourself towards that. Like, being able to criticize yourself less and build yourself up more is such an important thing.
Yeah. And I also think it's, like, such an important thing as Christians. And, like, I was on this website that I thought was super cool. It was, like, called ChristianCourier.com, and it said the Christian must look for opportunities to show kindness to others in society at large: the next door neighbor, the waitress in the restaurant, the companion on the plane, etc. So I just think it's, like, so important as Christians. Like, we want to be able to, like, be more like Christ, and, like, we want to be an example of kindness. Like, I feel like a lot of the time it's like, oh, like, I'm Christian, but, like, society has a big impact on me. But it's like, no, like, we really have an opportunity to, like, be the change and be like Travis. He's such, like, a kind soul, and, like, I see, like, God radiating from him, and it's like, that's what I feel like we should all strive for. It's like a radiation of just, like, joy and kindness and, like, just, like, happiness for one another. And I feel like we could do that in, like, little ways, like, as they said, like the waitress in the restaurant. Like, it doesn't need to be big ways. It could be a teacher, but, like, just little ways. And it's not like it's all the time, because we all still have, like, sin nature, and, like, we're obviously have judgments. We all have mean girl thoughts. Like, it's all, like, stuff that we have that, like, we can't get rid of because of sin. But it's like, if we can just be that little percentage that is, like, kind to other people, I feel like that's how people will be able to pursue other virtues. Like once they're happy and once they feel like, oh, people do love me, people do care about me, like pursuing chastity and prudence and temperance, humility, like those will come. It's like once you work on yourself with what you said, like patience and kindness, like once you work on like who you are and knowing yourself, like you'll want to pursue those virtues. You'll like want to be a virtuous person. But like I think you need this foundation. Like you need patience and kindness together to like create a foundation that's strong enough to pursue, like maybe you really struggle with chastity and it's like a really big struggle for you. Like you need this foundation to be able to pursue that like fully.
Yeah. And I feel like it's so important that you touched on like other people and like in our lives and affecting us and how we need to, even if it's small things, like be kind to other people, because we really need to understand that we need to accept other people in our lives and we need to realize that we're living this life with other people.
Yeah.
Like I feel like we choose our friends, but we also tend to keep them at a distance. Like there's certain friends that I know that I have that are closer than others, and that doesn't mean like all my friends don't know me, but there's certain parts of my life that I tend to keep away from certain people or from all people in general. And I feel like being able to be vulnerable, like kind of going back to what you were saying earlier, like being able to be vulnerable and be kind to people and accept who they are is such an important thing, and including other people, because we are living this life with other people and we need to be able to be open and to accept them for who they are, but being able to accept us through other people.
Yeah, I like the point where you talked about like we need to like open ourselves up, because I for sure struggle with like vulnerability too. I feel like that's just normal, especially as like girls. Like we just struggle with like trying to like open up to people because we really have just trust issues, you know? Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's just so crucial because like we can't live this life alone. And I think it's so dumb, like you do you, you do me. Like no, like we're doing this together. Like life, like God made life for like humans to interact and humans to like help each other. So I feel like the you do you, you do me, like it's just like pointless. Like we're supposed to help each other. We're supposed to want to know each other. We're supposed to create like meaningful relationships with each other. And I feel like that all goes back to the being kind to one another and wanting to create a relationship and wanting to know someone. Like it's so hard to connect with someone who you can just feel, oh, they don't really want to know me. You know, like you can just feel that like, oh, they like parts of my life. They like the sports. They like the going on trips with my family, but they don't like me, you know? And it's just, that's the hard part. It's just like really getting, like I even struggle just getting to know other people. Like it's hard. Sometimes you don't know what to say. Yeah. Sometimes you know what I mean.
And I feel like we need to really learn when we're open with people to be able to accept them for who they are fully. You know, because like you touched on, like they like that part of my life. They like going on trips with my family, like certain things, but other people might not like other parts. And I feel like if you're going to accept someone, if you're going to love someone, if you're going to be friends with someone, then you need to be able to accept them completely as a person and who they are, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Like, the whole kindness, patience thing is, like, I feel like people are, like, confuse it with, like, being nice, which is, like, so different than being nice. I feel like being nice is, like, oh, hey, nice to see you, glad you're here.
Yeah.
But, like, kind is, like, knowing someone.
Yeah.
And, like, it's hard to know someone. That's why it's hard to know people. It's, like, that's why they talk about it so much in the chapter. Like, it's, like, difficult to understand people, and it's difficult for us to want to understand people. Okay, to wrap this up, being able to love God and others well comes from having a good virtuous foundation, and kindness and patience create that main foundation for leading that virtuous life.
This episode has been a production of the Capistrano Valley Christian Schools Podcast Network. Capistrano Valley Christian Schools is a Christian JK through 12 school in San Juan Capistrano, California. Be sure to check out, subscribe to, and leave a review of this show and the other shows on our network on your podcast player of choice. Doing so supports the school community in a multitude of ways. For more information about the CVCS Podcast Network or any of our other shows, check out cvcs.org or email podcasts@cvcs.org. On behalf of the whole network, this is Mr. Jasper saying thank you again for listening, and stay tuned for more.